welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you at the start of this new year. Happy 2024. You know, it's really been quite calm the last couple of weeks. I'm kind of disappointed that there isn't much more snow. Because at this time of year, I'm usually expecting a snowstorm or what have you. But in this case, it just, like, if you look out my window now, you could see, like, there's just a slight dusting of snow, and it's kind of disappointing. Um, yeah, I was really expecting a little bit more from winter this year, but I guess that was my fault for getting my expectations too high. But I wanted to start the new year off with making a positive video, something to give people, I don't know, encouragement to get through this new year, because it seems like with each year that we go forward in, things tend to get harder and harder, and at some point it could be overwhelming. So I wanted to start this new year off with a positive video, a motivational video, and just something to get people's spirits high and, ready to push through this new year, because it's only January and we've got 12 months more to go before 2025, and I have a feeling it's going to be a difficult year, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a hard one either. So today the topic I'm going to be discovering is faith in marriage. And it's one of those things where faith has a couple different meanings. For me personally, it's one of those things that really I find really is important to have during, especially during those times when you're starting to question it, because, honestly, it can be hard sometimes, and sometimes you could be finding yourself questioning, is it easier just to, like, run? But even when those thoughts tend to sneak their way in, I always remember that my life is 10 times better with my wife in it than had I tried to tackle everything on my own. And I think that's what we've got to remember about our partners. It's how do we bring out the best in each other. So, for example, my wife, and I'm just using this as an example because, every marriage is different. Every marriage brings their own strengths into their relationship. But for me, my wife, I couldn't keep my head on straight if I didn't have her. I'd easily get lost. I'd tend to forget important things. There was a point in my life where I didn't even know if I had a purpose here in life anymore. It got to the point where I just felt like a drone, a robot. I was here to wake up and then go work the whole day and go to sleep. I didn't necessarily feel like I had a life of my own to live. But the moment she stepped into my life, everything, that sense of purpose came back. That sense of having something to improve myself for came back. And I stopped looking at the world as it's always got to be about me. And, it brings such a feeling of encouragement and empowerment to know that you're not just living a life for yourself anymore. I mean, while it is important to maintain self-care, it's also important to have a goal or something to pursue. And for some people, that's reaching their dreams. For some people, that's reaching a certain goal. And for some people, that's being the best version of themselves for others. And, that's definitely what's been a huge motivation for me. Now, when I say faith in a relationship, what I mean is you've got to have some sort of confidence that there is going to be a better outcome no matter what struggles you go through. And you have to have the confidence and faith that no matter how hard things get, you are going to be able to get through it with the person you've chosen to spend the rest of your life with. And I'm finding it a little bit more common these days to just run when things get hard. I see stories all the time where there's a single slight and it's like, oh, well, we have to run to divorce. And, in the beginning years, yeah, I mean, to be honest, Reddit influenced me a lot. And that place is horrible when it comes to relationship advice. because, it's one sided, it's divided, it's biased. You know, marriage just isn't that traditional of a thing anymore. It's not that revered thing as it used to be. But if you're in that sort of relationship, you've got to remember that it's more than just a promise. It's more than just a relationship. It's an adventure that you have to go on with your partner together. And yeah, there are going to be hard times. There are going to be times when you just want to throw in the towel and say, you know what, I've given it my all. But there will always be more to give, and there's going to be more that you'll see throughout the entire relationship that you wouldn't have known if you had just given up right away. And that's kind of the way I look at it. And I'm not a relationship expert. I've got my own things that I need to work out too. I haven't gotten this thing pat down. But I know that it's important to remember that why you took the oath to stand by your partner's side through sickness, through health, for richer or for poor. And, it can be easy to lose sight of that, especially if you're always looking at, well, if I'm doing everything, or, if, why am I pushing myself? You're pushing yourself to make things work because you love the other person. You're pushing yourself because, the two of you together are better as a person than if you were separate. And that is how I look at, my marriage, my parents' marriage. It's just one of those things where you've got to take the bad stuff and outweigh it with the good stuff that the marriage brings. Now, there's, like I said, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage. There never will be. Because, as much as you try to complement one another, you will always be your own individual person. And sometimes your needs don't, line up with what your partner's needs. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't make it work. Um, it's trying to find the balance between how you're taking care of yourself and how you're taking care of your partner. And there's nothing wrong with letting your partner know, hey, look, I have some boundaries that I want to keep, or, this isn't necessarily making me feel comfortable. But there's a difference between just talking about it and then automatically going to, I've got to run away with my tail in between my legs. And again, don't get me wrong. There are some marriages that just weren't meant to work out. But don't. The best example I could give is don't look at it like a celebrity wedding, or, like a certain famous family that starts with a K. Because the way they go with about marriages, it's like this one thing where they only get engaged to begin with just for the attention. Marriage isn't about attention, and marriage is not about trying to put the spotlight on yourself. It's about working together with your partner to build a stronger and better future. And I can't stress this enough. It is hard work, trust me. You know, it's there. You think it's all supposed to be rainbows and ponies and what have you, and it's supposed to be this lifelong adventure that's supposed to be great, but marriage is hard. It's hard work. There's no way of getting around that. But if you're willing to put in the hard work, then the rewards could be exponential. Um, I remember when I was living alone, and it was the hardest thing I ever had to go through. And don't get me wrong, it's there are some people who can handle living alone fine. It just wasn't my lifestyle, and I was beginning to think, okay, well maybe I was just destined to be alone. I couldn't even go to a family's wedding without feeling a little bit jealous, because I felt like, why am I the only one not able to find someone? But the moment my wife stepped into my life, I could tell you that my life got 100% better in terms of self-care, in terms of self-improvement, and just in terms of having motivation to get through each day. I mean, yeah, I still have my bad days, we all do, but I've even found the strength to push past those bad days, because I know I want to be able to make a better home for myself and a better home for my family. And it's that motivation that keeps me going as a person. And I feel like if you truly love your partner, then it's going to be that motivation that pushes you forward. And, it's one of those things where I would have given up a long time ago if it had not been for her support. You know, I'd be too scared because I always thought if I tried to pursue my dream, it wouldn't work. But there she was in the background cheering me on, telling me she believes in my channel, and it got better. It got easier for me to step outside my comfort zone. And yeah, there are still some boundaries I'm not willing to, budge on. But I've gotten more confident in myself as a person. And I feel like that if you are certain that the person that you're in this relationship with is the one, then you don't have to be afraid of stepping outside those boundaries. And you don't have to be afraid of trying to make a better future for yourself. Um, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to get into arguments. You might, as good as a relationship as you may have, you are two separate people. You're not going to agree on everything. You're not going to be in sync with everything. Sometimes you're just going to take each other off. There's no way around it. But remember, with every argument, if you can look past the heated moments and see that even even in the most heated arguments that your partner still loves you, then it's a relationship worth pursuing. And it's a marriage worth fighting for. And it's that faith that things are going to get better that should push you forward into looking toward that brighter future. It's and keep fighting every day. I the old me would have given up right away. The old me would have just been content laying in bed all day and sleeping. But with the motivation that my wife brings me every day, with the encouragement that she brings, I am not afraid of failing. And I am not afraid of keeping pushing forward. And, that should be the same for everyone in a marriage like this. And like I said, there are some marriages that, hey, don't work out. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people just aren't meant to be together. But that doesn't mean that the good ones are worth giving up on. And I would encourage anyone that is in one of these good relationships to remember the positives that each other brings into your relationship. Because as hard as times may seem right now, it will get better. I truly believe that. And I believe that if you have faith in yourself and faith in each other, then the best is yet to come. That's all there is to it. And if you remember what the promise that you made the day that you stopped being boyfriend and girlfriend or fiance, what have you, and you remember that this is no longer just a separate person. You are together joined as one. And trying to work things out as a separate, trying to do everything on your own will only cause more burnout. But if you let your partner in on what you're working on and work towards it together, things will go a lot easier. Don't don't think that you have to do everything on your own. I mean, if you're having a bad day, talk to your partner. If you're uncertain about something, just let it all out. There's no shame in confiding in your partner and showing some vulnerability. And that's especially true for men, because I find it a lot, and I'm not sure if it's something with our pride or our status that we have to have everything figured out. It's okay to show vulnerability. If you have a partner that will accept you during your vulnerable times, as well as when you're strong, then you've got a woman worth fighting, or man worth fighting for. And it's got to be a partnership. It's got to be a union. You've got to be able to work together and not just say, all right, I have to tackle everything on my own. I have seen so many relationships that look strong on the outside, but part of it is open communication. You've got to be willing to open up about these things, because if you try to hide everything, then your partner's not going to be able to read your mind, and they're not going to be able to help you in the way that you want them to. There is no shame in asking for help, and there's no shame in not being able to do everything on your own. I mean, that's why we get into these sort of marriages in the first place, because we can trust that our partner will be there even when we're struggling our hardest. And again, things are only going to get rougher from here. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I may be optimistic, but I can't guarantee anything. And it seems like things are getting harder with each year that passes, especially in recent years. But if you have someone that you can fall back on, and you can say, hey, I need help, or hey, I need help getting back up on my feet, then go ahead and ask for that help. Just trust that your partner will be there for you. It all ties back into that faith aspect. Have faith that no matter how hard things are going to get, your partner will always be there for you. And they will always help you through the good times and the bad. And this was a very important video because it's been something that's been on my mind recently. And I feel like it's important that we talk about these things. Because it's easy to get lost in the hustle and bustle of everyday life that we forget what true marriage truly means. And so, it's just work towards something greater for the both of you. Don't think of it as a competition. Don't think of it as who's doing more or who's doing less. Think of it as a group project that you're working towards a better future together. And I encourage anyone, and I do mean anyone, who's in a type of relationship where, if you're struggling right now and you're feeling like you're going apart, remember what things brought you together in the first place. Maybe it was a love of dancing or a love of art, Maybe it was how funny they were or how kind they were. Just remember what brought you together and hold on to that. When you get through those hard times and those tunnels, you'll see that person you fell in love with again. Because no matter how much they may be going through a hard time, they're still the same person. And you should never forget that no matter how hard things get, they will always love you. That's something that should never be lost in a marriage. And sadly, it does. But, if you got a marriage worth fighting for, I highly encourage you to keep on fighting. Because, like I said, no matter how hard things may get, the best is yet to come. And with all my heart, I truly believe that. And I'm just going to leave it there because, it's one of those things where if I kept, I could take a whole day making a video about this, but I really didn't want to. I just wanted to kind of get back into my schedule in the new year. And hey, if you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, comment, and join the chat. Any term of communication helps. And I appreciate you tuning into this video. I greatly appreciate the support. I'm looking forward to what 2024 has to offer my channel. And be on the lookout for my new podcast. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be an awesome project that I'm going to be working on. And as I said, thank you for the support. Have a nice week. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. This is the Humble House Husband signing off. Take care.